What if I told you that one of the most insightful pieces of anti-capitalist cinema put out by a big studio this century was a kids' movie? What if I told you it was this kids' movie? This is Speed Racer, a 2008 mostly live-action film based on the classic anime and manga series of the same name. And look, I know what you're thinking. Wow, this looks like someone hit LazyTown Sporticus with a car, hooked him up to some electrodes, and ran the data from those last few feverish minutes of brain activity through DAL-E, but it's actually weirdly, fascinatingly good. In today's video, we're going to look back at this film and its impressively complex vision of life, of meaning, under corporate hegemony, and we're going to try and establish if there's hope left for meaning, for heart, sincerity under capitalism. First though, a quick thank you to my patron Adam Myers. This topic was his idea, and it formed the basis for this Patreon community video. More on that later though. First then, what is Speed Racer? Well, in a nutshell, Speed Racer is a film that asks the question, what if Mario Kart was rigged? What if it were the biggest sport on the planet? And what if all the cameramen took peyote before filming any of it? Actually, that isn't quite accurate. No, it's more asking the question, what if the Mushroom Kingdom was capitalist? And then giving an answer, and that answer being, Mario Kart would quickly become rigged, a charade for kart manufacturers and sponsors to manipulate the markets and become obscenely wealthy. Weird extended Mario metaphor aside, I promise this video isn't sponsored by Nintendo, though if you're watching this Nintendo, I will guerrilla market for you, just send me a Switch. Basically, the film dives into this, the corporate capitalist corollary of its fantastical racing facade. It follows a virtuoso race car driver named Speed Racer in his journey into pro racing and this surprisingly greedy cutthroat underbelly as he rebuffs a signing attempt by one of the rich tycoons behind this system and spends the rest of the film fighting for his career, his integrity, and even his life. That is his actual name, Speed Racer, by the way, but I guess incredibly prescient naming runs in the family. His mum's name is Mom Racer and his dad's is Pops Racer. This Racer family, they're like independent automobile manufacturers and mechanics, and they're really close. They're kind of the whole reason Speed's a racer to begin with, so a lot of the tension here is between whether or not Speed can achieve his dream of racing independently, with just family support, or whether he has to sacrifice that connection, that individual spark, to make it. A central question here then is, how far can the things that matter persist in this rat race? How long can the capitalist subject exist uncorrupted by the powers that run the world? How long until the bastards grind you down? For most of this world, the answer is not that long, really. The end of the first act sees Speed turn down Mr. Royalton's sponsorship offer, and in response, Royalton breaks down just how rotten the racing scene is.
They met to negotiate the finish order of the Grand Prix. No race is more important, and no race is more controlled. That's what racing is about. It has nothing to do with cars or drivers. All that matters is power and the unassailable might of money.
T180 racing doesn't exist, at least not in the way Speed thought it did beforehand. It's a sham, it's fixed, drivers throw races according to the decisions of the fat cats paying them, and every racer we'd seen beforehand, every one of Speed's idols drives not to win, not to compete authentically in an automotive meritocracy to find purpose in this striving to be the best. No, they drive for money, for status, for the trappings of purpose and success, and partially due to the vast systems of coercion built by Royalton and friends, partially due to the ensuing driver consensus, the trappings of purpose and success are all that remain. Real meaning, real success, motivation, it seems like this is all illusory. They're lies created by these hollow corporate pantomimes, and the people who work to create these shows have accepted this, mollified by wealth, material comforts, and above all, the knowledge that there isn't really anything they can do to change it. Rebel against the system and you'll be forgotten within the month. And so they settle for the money, for the nice food, for a slightly elevated place in a world that's all surface, all hyper-stimulation. Speed doesn't. Speed can't.
And the second the black and white came down, we looked at each other and we realized racing's in our blood.
Racing, not money, not status, is what drives Speed. It's what gives his life purpose, and without dipping too far into pop psychology, a big part of that is probably because he's got a great relationship with his family. They're so very important to him. And Speed thinks racing is in his blood, but what he means by this is that racing is embedded within the culture of his family, their bonds, their work, their joy.
I go to the races to watch you make art. and it's beautiful and inspiring. You just take my breath away.
Racing occupies a privileged place in what they do, what they think about, how they enjoy their life, and each other's company. Ergo, racing matters to Speed. Real, competitive racing, and it really matters. It's not just a job or a hobby, it's tied up intrinsically with the most basic connections and relationships he has in his life. Once Speed realizes that the choice being offered to him is superficial success at the price of authenticity, at the price of actually fulfilling that inner drive, he doesn't even think about taking the deal. The game's rigged, and if Speed played, it wouldn't satisfy him because he doesn't care about the appearance of winning. He cares about real competition, real existence. He'd take really losing over fake victory any day. To Royalton, to those like Royalton, that makes him a chump. To them, sincerity like this is for chumps. And the interesting thing is, the film's aware that they're not necessarily totally wrong for thinking that. Don't get me wrong, Speed Racer ends up repudiating Royalton, his worldview, his cynicism and all that, but there's a wrinkle here in the relationship between racing and real meaning. See, Speed's purpose, his identity, his meaning, it's all tied irrevocably to T180 racing, this sport, but the sport's almost entirely a fabrication of the automotive industry. The thing Speed's wanted to do all his life, the lodestone which calibrates his sense of self, it doesn't exist, at least not in the way he thought. The clean, Manichaean dichotomy a lesser film would have drawn between Speed's real inner drive and Royalton's materialistic fakery isn't here. The battle here isn't organic, sincere meaning versus capitalism, because that meaning itself is largely an intentional product of capitalism, a product designed to generate naive idealists who feed this machine. Racing in Speed Race has often been read as artistry, or self-actualization more broadly, and that's probably fair. But here we see the film itself questioning whether or not these ideals are anything more than long-running cultural psyops. How much of our image of successful art, of the pursuit of personal passion, of self-improvement, is simply a result of decades worth of low-level corporate brainwashing? It's probably more than we'd like to admit. So can capitalism crush sincerity? Maybe it can do something worse. Maybe it can replace sincerity altogether with a manufactured facsimile, a monetizable facsimile, a facsimile that can barely even conceive of an authentic existence beyond the world of stock markets, sponsors, and the corporate chokehold. That's an awfully complex knot of ideas for the film to unravel in a satisfactory manner by its end, and to be honest, I'm not totally sure it manages this. The second act draws to a close in a somewhat subdued manner. Speed and Racer X's attempt to take down Royalton by beating him at his own game, messing up a supposedly fixed racist script by driving their way to an upset victory, and thus driving up the share price of their adoptive team's sponsors, Royalton Industries, to foil a corporate takeover, well, it fails. The price is driven up, but Royalton buys it anyway. He takes a bit of a financial L, but all that's really happened is that the Togo-Khan families made a bunch more money from the sale. This is a bit of a downer beat, but it's not a totally negative one, and that's due largely to this scene we get on the track between Racer X and Speed. The latter is struggling with his sense of motivation, his sense of self, because of the seemingly unassailable might of the robber barons fixing the system, and Racer X tells him this.
It doesn't matter if racing never changes. What matters is if we let racing change us.
Now, that might just sound like a platitude, but I don't think it is, not really. If we think back to the stuff we discussed a minute ago, the way racing, Speed's identity is founded on some pretty shaky ground, this comment actually helps, because what X is really saying here is that the world, the rotten apples, the system can create things, but it doesn't have the power to dictate the way we use, understand, or respond to those things, unless we surrender that power ourselves. On some level, the realness of the meaning we find in a given activity is independent from the origins of that activity. Maybe it isn't totally separate, sure, but if you're able to enjoy something sincerely on a personal or familial level, that matters. It doesn't matter where the tools or ideas you used to fashion that meaning came from, because on a basic level, the significance we attach to something comes from us. Some semblance of authenticity can be preserved on an independent or communal level, even in an utterly fraught world, a conclusion which I'm sure is familiar to many of us living under late capitalism. Structurally, this feels like a pivotal moment. It feels like this is the message the film wants to give. Maybe you can't tear the system apart, but you can establish your own structures of meaning within it. It feels like that's the direction the last bit of the film's gonna take, that we won't see, say, Speed single-handedly winning the Grand Prix and tearing this corrupt system down. Instead, we'll see Speed achieve success on his own terms. Maybe Speed returns to that first racetrack and finally beats his brother's time. Or maybe we see Speed setting up a new league, a real league, where racers compete for real. Or maybe we will see Speed grind his way back up the ladder, get to some big race and lose unfairly, but we'll know that he is a winner in all the ways that matter. These things don't happen though. No, Speed Racer wins. It turns out there's some obscure loophole that means Speed's technically allowed to race at the Grand Prix. It turns out that the corrupt functionaries at the stadium let him in. His family built him a new car at an inhuman speed, and despite every other driver trying to take him out, using illegal weapons and tactics to sabotage him, he beats them all. Honestly, this last leg of the film kind of feels like a fever dream, and it even ends with a montage of the crooks getting locked up. There's a splash page on a newspaper reading "Cheaters never prosper," and this just feels off, considering that the whole film until this part has been about the fact that yes, they do actually. Don't get me wrong, the ending's fun and pleasant. It activates the happy button in the viewer's brain, but it does feel a bit insubstantial, a bit bolted on. The simplicity and straightforwardness with which Sincerity wins out seems incongruous with the nuance of the preceding 2 hours. It's hard not to wonder just how organically this ending came about, how much disagreement there was in the writer's room, whether or not this fairly standard kids movie happy ending was the result of some executive decree. Ironically, there's something about this triumph of sincerity which feels very insincere. It's tempting to assume that some need for the happiest of endings on a studio level is in a sense the real resolution to those questions the film started off asking. Anything less, anything more nuanced, more genuine, less hyperbolic makes the film unappealing. Unappealing means worse reception, and that means a smaller box office, and bam, Sincerity's dead. Capitalism killed it. And albeit on a metatextual level, Speed Racer shows us this. I think that's a valid reading, but I don't think it's the only valid reading. And it isn't the one I want to end on. Maybe there is something fantastical about the way the last half an hour or so plays out here. Maybe it doesn't feel real, even when compared to the rest of this zany world. But what's wrong with fantasy? Especially in a kid's film. Maybe we don't buy it. But that isn't Speed Racer's fault. It's the world's fault that when we look at this victory of meaning over money and might, it doesn't sit right. There's really not much this film or the Wachowskis could have done to combat this unshakable weight of cynicism and experience. No, the best they can do is imagine an alternative, is use fiction, use the conventions, expectations, and liberties afforded by children's fiction specifically to permit this fantasy, this optimism, this wholehearted devotion to the happy ending, to the resilience of sincerity. In this story, Speed Racer wins. The power of family, of purpose, of sincere meaning beats all these racers, all these companies, all the mustered forces of capital. Maybe that wouldn't happen in the real world, but that's on the world. That ironic sense of insincere sincerity might just be a mirage, some imprint of reality we're mistakenly bringing to a pure and optimistic world. The way the film conceptualizes the relationship between racing and meaning kinda has its cake and eats it too. That aforementioned midpoint with Speed and Racer X establishes that even if racing doesn't exist beyond the manufactured, the meaning generated by it can. The ending seems to decide, hey, don't worry, racing too exists beyond the manufactured. Take away the dirty money and the sport survives. And maybe that is a bit odd, but at no point has this film played by the rules. So why not extend that irreverence, that starry-eyed idealism to the finish line? Why not have its cake and eat it too? Who's gonna stop it? So from this perspective, Speed Racer envisions a world where capitalism can't crush sincerity, where heart springs eternal. And if you don't believe it, that's tough. And here's the fun part. If we do believe Speed Racer, if we do take it at its word, that sort of proves the film right. If we understand Speed Racer as a film which appreciates the dark complexities of the way profit controls the world, controls our minds, but still imagines, believes in a world where meaning wins, then meaning did win. It persisted, it emerged from deep within the grubby, greedy mechanism of Hollywood. Even if the film's optimism is blind, naive, wrong, it is sincere, achingly so. It wears this weird, idiosyncratic, fiercely hopeful heart firmly on its sleeve, and if it's too pure for this world, then that's our problem. I'll end this point with some words from film crit Hulk writing on Speed Racer for The Observer. The film is always itself, especially as it slides back and forth between dramatic and comic emphasis with the blistering assuredness of pure operatic glee, all while living and breathing every moment sincerely. Many often roll their eyes at such naked, heartfelt audacity. Too corny, they say, out of the side of their mouths. But such disdain is all part of the pains of being pure at heart. And really, they are the joys. I think that's the reading I lean toward. I like it, I really do, but I'm still not fully sold. So if this is the vision of pure, powerful sincerity triumphing against all odds that I've laid out above, then I apologize. Maybe I'm just too cynical for children's cinema. What I do know though is that Speed Racer isn't the film I thought it'd be. I remember seeing trailers for this way back in 2008, and as an 8-year-old coming fresh from a childhood filled with LEGO Racers 2, Drome Racers, and Gran Turismo 4, I was intrigued. I imagined it'd be a slick, exciting movie version of the sort of gamified, cartoony action I was familiar with. 14 years on, now that I've actually seen it, yeah, Speed Racer had that in spades, but it's also so much more. It's a film that baffles you at every turn. It's a film that prominently features a chimpanzee child, without addressing that fact once. But it's also a film unafraid to expose kids and their elders to the corruptive power of capital, to question the realities presented to us by popular media, to ponder the power of idealism and sincerity in the face of these powerful forces. And regardless of the way these ideas resolve, or perhaps don't, I think it's a really interesting and intelligent film. The cool thing is, I'm not the only guy to have realized this. Speed Racer's got a cult following. There's even a bunch of other video essays on the film here on YouTube. I've not had the time to check any of them out yet, but I'll try and watch a few by the time this video goes public, and I'll link some of my favorites in the description. There's more to say here too, so on the off chance this video actually does well, maybe I'll come back with a video about the character of Teijo Togokan, and the strangely liminal place he occupies in this film. Until then though, hey, throw some money at me on Patreon. YouTubers tend to rely on November and December to make a big chunk of their income. The ads pay more in the lead up to Christmas, and let's just say my views chose a pretty funny time to dip. So if you want to throw some ducats at me, I'd be super grateful. It's a good deal for both of us. I get to buy food, you get to tell me what videos to make. See, this one's a Patreon community video. That means the topic was suggested by a patron and selected by other patrons in a vote. Vox populi, vox dei. Just call me Elon Musk. But you know, without the apartheid wealth, or the weirdly fascistic recent politics, or the Ghislaine Maxwell connection. Actually, on second thought, please don't call me Elon Musk. But yeah, you do get to dictate the focus of videos like this on a bi-monthly basis, as well as gaining access to a whole suite of other rad benefits. The link's down below if your interest's been piqued, and that's about it for this video. So a big shout out to all current patrons whose names are on display now, especially Strange Folk. Thanks for watching, like and share this video if you're feeling generous, and I'll see you all next time.